Who's Credence again?
We're beautiful future.
Whatever. My regular niffler. Hello beautiful people, how's it going? I'm back with another video and I have all the answers to Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Wow. Wow. I walked out of this movie with my jaw on the floor when it was revealed that that Credence is actually related to Albus Dumbledore and most likely will be his brother in the upcoming Harry Potter / Fantastic Beasts franchise films. So anyways, I would like to start by saying I adored this movie 100%. I completely disagree with what all of the critics said. This movie did have a bit of exposition, but it did it well. It handled it very well. In my mind, the idea of exposition is that a character would literally just tell you the backstory, do you know what I mean? And not necessarily show you. But when critics said that they didn't actually show us what happened, I didn't actually think that Yusuf Kama was going to give us the entire flashback and show it to us. So I was very pleased, and I feel like critics worded that very differently for the exposition that was shown in this film. But let me get to explaining. So there are 3 twists, in fact no, I think maybe 4 twists in The Crimes of Grindelwald which we need to get down to the bottom of. The first being that this movie is all about finding out who Credence is, and it's a thread which ties in all of the stories in the Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald film together. And because Leta was bullied very much in her childhood, she was traumatized to a point where she felt like she couldn't escape. There was even a scene in which we see her boggart, but it's not actually shown to us because it's a huge revelation at the end of the film. And it was basically that when her father sent her and her brother Corvus off to America to kind of, I guess, just grow up alone. I'm not really sure why. They were on a sinking ship, and Leta was so tired of hearing her brother scream and being jealous of her brother that she swapped him with another baby. And that baby that she swapped him with was Credence, who we now know is actually a Dumbledore. Her baby, her brother essentially, was the one that actually drowned when the ship drowned. And the one who went down after him, which we actually all thought was either going to be Tina or Leta from the trailer. We just had no idea that it was a completely different character. I think she drowned with him, but I'm not 100% sure. And it's a revelation that kind of changes everything because you get to know that Yusuf Kama, who we now know in the film, actually made a blood pact to find Credence, otherwise he's going to die, because he wanted to avenge his father, who was put under a curse because his mother was taken by a man who fell in love with her. It's a very complicated plot, but Yusuf Kama in this film was out for revenge, and I had no idea how to feel about his character, because whereas I did feel sympathy for him, he was out to kill Credence, and he, by the way, just as clarification, he is Leta's half-brother, but that family tree is messed up. We also learn that Leta's family are very anti-feminist, because basically Leta's Lestrange family tree do not show women in the story, and that really affects Leta's character because she feels like she's irrelevant to the plot. I will say it is a bit of blatant feminism, but it's necessary to be in there, and I really enjoyed that part. In fact, there's a scene where Leta actually goes down and sees a family tree pop up out of a book. It's a very beautiful scene, and I actually cannot wait to go see this film again to really dissect it for all of you beautiful people. This movie was fantastic. Now, at the end of the movie, I made a theory that Queenie would join the dark side, and she does. She tells Jacob that realistically, the reason that they can't be together is because of these laws that Grindelwald is against, and Grindelwald manipulates her into believing that what he wants is also what she's seeking, even though it really isn't, because Grindelwald literally wants to kill all the Muggles, even though he says he doesn't. It's very clear as day. It is so upsetting, though. In fact, it's crazy. I mean, it really is crazy. It's a very sad revelation, but Queenie does join Grindelwald in the end, and she kind of walks into his circle of fire, and she's almost not accepted, but she makes it there in the end, and she apparates with him. And him and Queenie and Credence Barebone do escape. And the thing is that Credence does join Grindelwald because he wants to find out who he is, and Grindelwald doesn't tell him in the last minute. One thing I did enjoy was the fact that Grindelwald waited for Credence to come to him. He didn't go out and seek for him because, in a way, he didn't want to show Credence that he needs him as much as he does. But the reason Grindelwald needs Credence is because A, he's a very powerful Obscurus, and B, it's to get to Dumbledore. But the thing is that I don't even think that Dumbledore knows that he has a brother, or a relative, but I do think it's a brother, who is missing. Turns out that the bloodline of the Dumbledores is that Dumbledore is named Albus, his brother is named Aberforth, and his sister is named Ariana, but there's a fourth child, and that child, I think, is Credence. I'm not 100% sure if Credence is Dumbledore's brother, or his nephew, or just anything, but I do think the brother storyline would be very excellent. It is shocking. It is absolutely shocking the direction that this movie went in, but I was unbelievably impressed. Some of my favorite scenes was the Ministry escape scene with the zoo and the Madagos, the final scene in which the final showdown happens at the Colosseum, and the scene in which Dumbledore, well, not Dumbledore, well, when Dumbledore was introduced, kind of, when him and Newt had an altercation, and Dumbledore told Newt about the storyline with the Phoenix and their bloodline and their family. In fact, that's the way that we find out that Credence is a Dumbledore before it's actually stated in the film. Early in the film, Dumbledore states that when a Dumbledore is in need, a Phoenix will come to aid him. And in the end of the film, when Credence seems like he's confused and doesn't really know what to do, even though he's gone with Grindelwald to Newmengard, by the way. So those of you people who assumed that those mountains are in Switzerland, you guys were correct. A Phoenix appears and Grindelwald turns it into an adult Phoenix and then tells Credence that he is a Dumbledore and it's time to rule, and he hands Credence a wand, which is something that Credence has wanted all the way from the beginning of the first Fantastic Beasts film, and it's what Percival Graves as Grindelwald promised for Credence to have, and he fulfilled that promise, and Credence blasted the wall of Newmengard, and he is very powerful. Credence is a very powerful wizard, and I cannot wait to dissect all of the stuff that's going to happen in the future Fantastic Beasts films with all of you beautiful people. In terms of character developments, again, Nagini's transformation was great, but she was very underutilized. Yusuf Kama, however, was a character that I didn't think was going to be the film in a lot of it, but he was in a lot of it. And in fact, he was one of the main starring roles. Nicholas Flamel was underutilized, and I feel like he was only in this film as fan service. But again, I'm not complaining, but I will say he had not a lot of lines, that's the first thing, and he showed up at the end to kind of help the cast of the Fantastic Beasts, who literally are the only ones left from Grindelwald's descent. Leta Lestrange's death, that was horrifying. She sacrifices herself to save the love of her life. She turns around to Theseus and Newt and says, "I love you," and then she attempts to fight Grindelwald and dies. I personally think that she was saying it to Newt. I feel like she still loves Newt, and that was a heartbreaking storyline to have to witness. It was a shocker. It was a bit heartbreaking for Theseus, but that is how it happened in my eyes. Yes. And I know there was one last thing. Ah, yes, the final scene in the film in which we find out that Dumbledore and Grindelwald made a blood pact in which they cannot harm each other, and that is the reason that Dumbledore couldn't move against Grindelwald in this film. Very clever. I will say it's very clever. But I also will say that I guessed it. Wow, I actually made a whole video saying that they made a blood pact and it was going to be in that little pendant, and it was. That pendant is actually the cause for most of the problems in Crimes of Grindelwald. I mean, without that pendant and the stupid blood pact. See, don't make blood pacts when you're kids with people that you don't know you're going to stay like the rest of your life with. Don't do that. And don't make promises. In fact, that's something I learned. That's something I learned this year. Anyways, listen. The Crimes of Grindelwald was a great film, and I need you guys to bear with me on this so I can make the theory videos to kind of help piece together what happened and where the future of the franchise could go. In terms of the film, I would give it a solid 10 out of 10. I loved it with all my heart, and it was definitely worth the wait. So thank you all so much for watching my spoiler review of Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. If you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like and a comment down below, and subscribe to my channel to see a lot more Harry Potter content. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you all so much. We did it. We saw the Crimes of Grindelwald, and it's been an exhausting journey, and I need to take a nap and go see it again. But I'll be back. So thank you all so much for watching. It's been a blast. Bye guys! Yes! Wouch, that ending was something.